Hi, my name is Matt and welcome to another video. This one here is on the 388th Bombardment Group Reunion 1992 for the days of July 4th and July 5th. That's Saturday and Sunday. So we're going to start with the 4th, and they actually went off to Cambridge American Memorial Cemetery. Let's go take a walk on over there. I guess we're going back in time. Okay, so this arrangement here is of the memorial. The way that it is placed is as walking through the gate. You can see the monument and the flagpole. Got the another monument there in the garden. And the way that this was placed is you can see how the honor guard walk through the steps there, so I kind of was able to place that in that location. You can see that right there, and another shot of where the headstones are, so that kind of gave it another placement along with that photograph there. Another shot here up at the flagpole. So those are the honor guard shots for the ceremonies at the memorial and the cemetery. If there's anyone else who was at the 388th reunion for 1992, I'd be more or less actually really be happy to chat with you either in the YouTube comments or any other way you want to communicate. If you want to send me a private message, I'll be more than happy to talk with you via email if you want a private message. The next shot of pictures here is going to be the 5th of July. So we actually have St. Mary's Church here, and actually inside, that's actually the placard to the 388th inside the church on the left of your screen there. Now Dave Hart was there in 86 as well for the memorial dedication. The church was actually rather crowded from reports that I heard from people who did attend the 86 memorial dedication, and I would assume he didn't actually have enough room or time to take a picture of the plaque that was inside the church at the time. But so this was actually found in the 1992 photo album, which was actually called the Return to the UK. I'm sorry, actually it's the photographs booklet that you saw in the beginning of the video for the 1942-1992 book, or photo album I should say. So here you can see the group outside the St. Mary's Church, and they're just kind of just yammering and talking. And then the one over there on the left side of your screen is actually them beginning the walk to the memorial. You got the street sign, and then you got the group shots of them actually at the memorial. Now, following that, I'm going to walk over here. It is supposedly guessed to have been that they went up to the air base, which is just north of the memorial, by a short walk or a quick drive, and the B-17 Sally B took off from Duxford and flew over the base at Nettishell, and then they flew back, and then the veterans followed via tour bus to Duxford to actually meet the crew and see the B-17. Now, I do not actually have supporting evidence for the flight time from the B-17 Preservation Group, which actually did give me that information that they actually flew off from Duxford to Nettishell and then back following with the veterans in a coach bus just after the B-17 landed. Now the only thing is in this photograph here, and I have an enlargement, and I actually zoomed in on this quite well, not on this camera, but actually I can tell that the engine covers are still on the airplane, so I would think that is pretty early in the morning and they did not go out to Nettishell. But unless I can get a claim to back that up, I'd really appreciate it. And I'm also going to send that out to the B-17 Preservation group there. And as you can see, the B-17s, now the engine covers are off. You got Ara Sari in there, You got Dave Hart. Actually, correction, that actually is Dave Hart there, and that's Ara Syrian. They were there at the 92 reunions, of course. And then a nice, great candid photo here of the 5 guys with the B-17. Now they did do their stories actually for Newsday, and I actually happen to have the half of their stories. It's actually part 2. Part 1 I do not have from the Long Island Newsday newspaper. So, but I do have part of the newspaper of that. The next shot of pictures here are actually Duxford Airfield itself. Sorry for the shadow there. And I can tell you who's actually where in this photograph upon inspection by actually really zooming in and finding out where everybody is. And I could tell you there's actually a mosquito, and there really is actually a Spanish 109 there. It's actually now since both those aircraft have been crashed. So these 2 pictures seem to go rather well with that photo of the B-17 up there, because in here you can still see everyone's pretty well parked, the canopies are covered, and there's not too many people actually out at the aircraft at all, if not any, but maybe a few. So let's go on over to the next set. And this is where this gets kind of interesting. So now you see there's the B-17. It's got the crew out there, and I would say this was after the photo op with the 3D8th veterans. You can see the P-51 just over engine number 2, actually correction, number 3, sorry, and it's actually Old Crow. And then you also have the startup. You got all 3 engines 3, 4, and 2. And the crew chiefs and everyone else are making sure the engines are running smoothly. Following that, you got engine 1 now running. So now you got all 4 running. And now the B-17 is taxiing off to do its performance at Duxford. So, what does this tell us? Well, we obviously know that the B-17 did a sortie at Duxford. The only question is that, well, did these 5 guys go to Duxford from Nettishell and then decided to stay there while the B-17 flew off to Nettishell? Or did they stay there, the B-17 went up to Nettishell, did a sortie fly pass for the veterans, and then fly back? They put the engine covers back on, and then they decided that the weather improved enough to pull the engine covers off and then do another flight at the air show. That is the question. So, if anyone has any film or video of the 1992 air show from July 5th, and that's the Sunday, I'd be more or less, actually really more happy to hear from you, so that way I can then put these in a particular order, and actually in a correct order, so that way this can be properly done. So let me also point out here, hang on 1 second, I'm going to actually open up the album here. So you can actually see there is the memorial, and this is on the 5th. You can see that the podium is there for them to speak. Who was speaking, I don't know who. And then this was actually after the speak, because you can see the flowers are laid, and I could tell in the glare at the very bottom the flowers are there too. So it's a big wonder if they did the flowers and then the talk, or they did the talk and then the flowers. That's a question. Let's see here, so hang on. We got an enlargement of that street post. Okay, so the flying program for the day of July 5th. You can see that this is the Messerschmitt 109 Black 6. At the time, it was the only flying 109 fighter that was actually restored from World War II and flying in operation. It actually had a lot of problems when they were doing restoration. Just all to watch the whole thing on it. It's actually rather impressive. It's now just unfortunately now sitting static in a museum after its final flight that it crashed at the end of the runway at Duxford, flipped over, unfortunately. It's now beautifully restored and now on static display. It should be flying again, in my opinion. But I think maybe some aircraft should sit static and some should fly. So as you can see, the B-17 is there on the right side, or off the nose of the 109. You can see the replica 0 there. It's actually a North American T6 Texan. And I can tell that the Texan to the left of the fake 0 is actually in one of the other pictures. It's not actually on the table at the moment. So then we also have, this is the Spanish built 109. You can definitely see some differences between the two. And actually that's a G2 model 109, and that's a later Spanish built 109. It actually went through many different paint changes through its years. That one's actually probably my favorite, especially with the tail. Like all the kills on the tail, I like that. It's very nice. The 109 was, this Spanish built 109 was actually used in the movie The Battle of Britain. Actually so was Black 6, but it was a static, and that was flying. Now one of the things you don't see is the wing of the B-17, so I wonder if this Spanish built 109 went flying after the B-17 took off, probably to do like a mock dogfight, or to shoot down the flying fortress in a mock battle scene. So that's a question that we don't have the answer for. So to put these pictures in a perfect setting, we need to have those answers. One other thing is I'll open the page here. Now you can see the two Texans, the replica and the British one, and I can tell that his cover is off on his left canopy, and sorry for the blur. And I can tell by his wheels that I know which one it is. Not going to go into that detail at this time. You can also see now there's two DC-3s or C-47s, and you can tell there are two P-51 Mustangs. Well, I know that there were 3 flying that day. The question is the lead one Old Crow? And is the second one Moose and Candyman? Well, I'm going to say yes, because upon a close inspection I can tell by the colors that the lead Mustang was actually Old Crow by the nose. And I can tell that Candyman slash Moose was flying in the back there by its colors. And I did look at a closer visual photograph of the 3 Mustangs that are flying that day, and I can tell that those 2 are what those are. Then you got the last photo here. This is of the B-25D Grumpy. Now I know that this is actually in Pine Field in Washington. So the real question is so what was everyone's flying program? Who went up first? Was the B-25 going first? Or the Mustangs doing a flight first? And when did the DC-3s, C-47s go up? I can also tell you I know who's now DC-3s or what. That one there, and the closest one is actually the Dutch Dakota Association's DC-3. They actually crashed and they now have a replacement. And the one on the right there, I'm going to say is actually, and I know I actually have evidence of which one it is. The only thing is the identification of it. And it's actually a British-owned DC-3, which was recently sold to a owner in Germany. And I'm sending that question out through the DC-3 Association and also through some private groups to see if anyone can actually properly identify that DC-3. I got one answer back, but I think it's actually an incorrect answer, because upon close examination of it, I can tell that there's gray paint underneath the gray line. So that's kind of what's going on. If anyone's got some answers for the 1992 reunion for the 388th Bombardment Group, I'd be really, really happy to hear from you. We also have one more question here, and this one is regarding the hall at Coney Weston. So when did they go to the hall? And I can also tell you that's actually one of the owners there. I believe he's on the right, next to the 3D8th veteran there. And I know that's the hall because I sent that actually over to the Weston Council in the UK, and they did confirm it. The only question is, when did they go to that hall? Was it on the 4th? Was it on the 5th? And was it in the morning or the afternoon? I would probably say it's the morning. The other thing is that, and this goes to the 1986 dedication, is there's a picture, there's actually 2 pictures of a glider coming in at Thetford. When were they actually at Thetford? I don't know. But I can tell you that Dave Hart was there, and he took a picture of a glider coming in. Now, is it actually not a Shell airfield? I doubt it, because he wouldn't have labeled it as Thetford and would have named it my old airbase. So, that's another good question. I'm going to throw those two pictures up in a later video when I re-update the 86 memorial dedication. That's actually sitting nicely folded right here, so that way it's all nice and covered. So, that's what we got. The next video will probably cover the 1985 Seattle reunion for the B-17. And I can tell you there were a lot of reunions going on at that event. Not just 388th, but also maybe about 12 other bomb groups that went out there. So, including, everyone knows the movie Memphis Belle. Dave Talachay's B-17 was there, along with the only flying B-17F at the time, and including Sentimental Journey. So those pictures are actually in there. Those might be of interest to people. And actually the aircraft you can see right now are actually the F-4 Phantoms. And those are the Thunderbirds, I believe it is. So, alrighty. There you are. I asked some questions. I showed you some nice pictures here of a 1992 reunion and an air show. I hope to hear back from you soon. Thanks. Bye.